The land of Israel has been occupied for over 3,000 years. She has no major exports, no direct trade routes, and no great riches. Yet her history is imprinted in our records as a key point to mankind. Prophets, conquerors, kings, Jews, Christians, and Muslims have stamped their words and deeds upon her memory. Men have loved her, yet hated one another within her borders. To many, with allegiances to her, she is considered the center of the world. In fact, many Orthodox Jews will only pray facing Jerusalem, no matter where they are in the world. Almost 4 million people live within her boundaries, which are smaller than Massachusetts. 85% of her population is Jewish, and she continues to grow as more Jews migrate to their chosen land. The people who live inside her city's walls have survived wars and bloodshed and continue to overcome hardships in a fashion fitting only for a nation of eminent destiny. For the past 50 years, a renewed emphasis has been placed on preserving and restoring Israel's colorful past. To the Jews, history gives reason for life. Despite war raging on their borders, they spend money which they do not have to try and catch a glimpse of their forefathers and their ways. Perhaps the greatest example of how the past influences their present is Masada, a fortress built by Herod the Great in 40 BC, which was excavated from 1963 through 1965. It was here on April 15th, 73 AD, the Roman 10th Army led a historic assault to capture the fortress from a band of Jews. After a 3-year siege, the Romans stormed up a large ramp they had built with Jewish slave labor and broke through. Inside, they found 960 Jews who had committed suicide rather than live under Roman rule. Today, Masada stands as a monument to the choice of death over slavery. When Israeli special forces take their oath of allegiance, they do it here at Masada. Probably the most significant archaeological find of the 20th century is the ruins at Qumran. It was here in 1947 the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. There are 7 main scrolls dating from 300 BC to 70 AD. The writings revealed numerous accounts from the Bible. They tell of prophets, church practices and ordinances, buried treasure, and revelations about the future. These are but a few of the many discoveries Israel has revealed in the past 50 years, and each year valuable new insights are found. Recently, a discovery was made that may be of interest to members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It all began in 1961, when a bulldozer was plowing a road along this eastern slope. Suddenly, it struck the northern wall of this cave and fell in. Inside were inscriptions and writings. What did they say, and how old were they? Nearby is an old oak tree, which has been protected by having large rocks placed around it. Local people consider this a very sacred place. But why? And the Hebrew University and Dr. W. Cleon Skousen have recently made a miraculous find: the ruins of an ancient Christian church. The cave was found 22 miles southwest of Jerusalem, on the borders of Judah. Above it, some 200 yards, the tree and rock structure were found, and just below the tree, the foundation of the Christian church. How are these finds related, and what is their significance? There are some with the opinion that this is the ancient land of the Book of Mormon prophet Lehi. Is it possible? Could this actually be the place of Lehi's inheritance? Dr. Joseph Ganat, an Israeli professor of archaeology and anthropology, became familiar with the Book of Mormon while studying in the United States. After returning to Israel, he stumbled upon the findings of the cave and called Dr. Cleon Skousen. Dr. Skousen was, of course, interested, and together they began looking into the possibility of a connection with the Book of Mormon. The writings from the walls of the cave were dated to 600 BC, roughly the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Dr. Safrir from the Hebrew University explains how the letters could be dated.
That depends on two factors, two elements. One is what we call professionally paleography, that's the style of the letters. Later on we find square writing, which is closer to our Hebrew of today. This particular writing is typical to the period before the discussion.
The three inscriptions found were written in Old Hebrew. The first is a prayer for rescue. Deliver us, O Lord. The second is a plea for forgiveness. Absolve us, O merciful God. And the third is a prophetic utterance in poetic form reading, I am Jehovah, thy God. I will accept the cities of Judah and redeem Jerusalem. Could these have been written by a people fleeing the holy city in the early 6th century, just before Jerusalem was conquered and destroyed?
But the strongest point about the prophet taking shelter here would be, I am Jehovah thy Lord. Who will dare to say, I am Jehovah thy Lord? If someone had a message, let's say it was a genius shepherd who knew how to read and write, he would write here, I lost a goat, I love you, Sarah, you know, something like that. But to talk about redemption on one hand, and saying in a very interesting, very clear way, I am Jehovah thy Lord. It can be only someone who is the messenger of the Lord who can write, I am thy Lord.
In addition to the writings, drawings of 3 figures are cut into the walls. One holding what looks like a musical instrument, the lyre. Another holds hands upraised as if in prayer. And the third wears the proper dress and headgear to be a priest or Levite. 2 of the figures show great emphasis on their leg muscles, perhaps as if they had traveled a great distance in a short time. For these and other reasons, some archaeologists believe that the people who stopped at this cave may have been engaged in a dangerous mission in which they had to escape and find shelter.
Another important point. At that time, not many people knew how to read and write. So this would not be the strongest point, but it could be that someone knew how to read and write, not a prophet or his amanuensis. It cannot be just a person who lived here or just was a traveler in this area.
Also on the walls were 2 ships with sails and additional drawings that might be tents. This area is far from any seaports. Why would anyone be thinking of boats and tents? Perhaps someone knew they would be departing to a distant land. The Book of Mormon says, the prophet Lehi had a land of inheritance down from Jerusalem. There, Lehi's family had their riches and apparently their place of business. We know that Lehi lived in Jerusalem, but obviously his land of inheritance, a place important enough to leave his riches, was somewhere else. From Judges 15, we know there was an ancient land known as Lehi, and that it was somewhere southwest in the area near the borders of the kingdom of Judah. This is the land where it is believed Samson used a jawbone to slay 1,000 Philistines. In fact, the word jawbone, translated into Hebrew, is Lehi. But the Book of Mormon notes that Lehi was of the house of Joseph, specifically Manasseh, and their land of inheritance was in the northern part of the region. If this was the land of Lehi's forefathers, how could his land of inheritance have been here in the south? Ishmael and Laban were also of the house of Joseph. Why would all of these families with a northern inheritance be living in Jerusalem, in the land of Judah? One reason would be, in 721 BC, the northern part of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians. It seems Lehi's forefathers and many others fled south to avoid being captured. The Bible helps us with another possibility as to why they may have adopted another land. This scripture in 2 Chronicles points out that many of the righteous people left this area because it became so infiltrated with wickedness. When Lehi and his family left for the Americas, it may not have been the first time they had fled to a new land to preserve righteousness. This may account for their leaving their original land of inheritance. But if they did move to this area in the south, why would they move again to Jerusalem? Perhaps because 100 years before the Book of Mormon opens, 46 cities were destroyed in this area, and this also became an unsafe place to live. Jerusalem was the only walled city left in the area, making it the only refuge in the region. When a man came to Jerusalem in ancient times, he was often called by the name of the place from which he originated. Jesus was known as the Nazarene, Peter as the Galilean. Perhaps Lehi was called Lehi because he came from a place bearing that name. Why would Lehi have lived in Jerusalem, but kept his riches at his land of inheritance? As was noted in the Melchizedek Priesthood Manual of 1957, Lehi was a merchant of precious metals. For Lehi to have been in the gold and silver business, he would have needed access to the trade routes along the coast. This area had excellent access to those trade routes. To work with precious metals, he would also need access to water. The only known water in this entire region is located roughly 200 yards from the mouth of the cave. Lehi would also need a place to hide and to store his belongings, as he would only be in this area periodically since he did live in Jerusalem. It was customary in those days to hide riches in a man-made cave with a small opening so it could be easily hidden. This was that type of cave. We are all familiar with the story of Nephi as he journeyed with his brothers to get the plates and the eventual killing of Laban.
And we owe it to Dr. Joseph Gannat, who pointed out to us that if those boys were involved in the slaying of General Laban, and Zoram had disappeared with the plates, obviously everybody's looking for Zoram. He must have done the slaying. So there would have been military searchers everywhere, every nook and cranny, every house, every possible place, which would have meant that they couldn't possibly have gotten out of the country if they hadn't first gone into hiding probably for weeks and weeks until everything had quieted down. Where would they have gone to hide?
Could this be where Nephi and his brothers went to hide? If this was their father's land of inheritance, they certainly would have known the area well and may have even been able to draw upon friends in the area for help. In the driest and most barren parts of Israel live the Bedouins. The Bedouins are Arabs who have roamed the land for centuries. They raise goats and travel whenever there is no grass for their animals. They live a very simple life, full of traditions and beliefs that haven't changed in centuries. The Bedouins were not aware of the cave, but they have believed for many generations that this old oak tree is where the prophet Lehi brought his people. It is still considered by them to be a very sacred place. In fact, the Bedouin people call this place Kerbet Lehi, meaning the ruin of the house of Lehi.
What is the name of this place here?
في الأساس بيقولوا تبع النبي.
The name in its origin is the name Nabi Lehi, which means the prophet Lehi. And is this place sacred?
مطرح هو على أثرات مقدس بس مش مقدس فيه نبي زي ما تقول مفهوم.
Place is known as a sacred place because the prophet used to come here and his people used to be around here. And as he visited this place, therefore it is a holy place.
Some Bedouins also claim the holy man and his people gathered here, then left for a distant destination. For centuries, the ancestors of this chosen land have built shrines or churches to honor sacred ground. For example, the Shrine of the Dome of the Rock was built by Muslims, where they believe Muhammad, their first prophet and founder, ascended to heaven on a white horse to converse with the prophets, then returned to teach his people. Also, at the 3,000-year-old Jacob's Well, a Christian church was built to honor the place where Jesus told the woman of Samaria, "Whosoever drinketh of the water that I give him shall never thirst." The Holy Land is filled with such ancient shrines. If this area was regarded as a sacred place, it seemed to Dr. Skousen and Dr. Ganat that a church or shrine of some kind may have been built near the site. They went out with some archaeologists, and Dr. Skousen selected the spot where he felt they should start digging. Amazingly, in less than 3 hours, they discovered the foundation of a Christian church. The entire floor of the church was done in mosaics.
This church was uncovered in just 3.5 weeks of excavation. And the mosaic floors that we uncovered here turned to be one of the most exciting and beautiful mosaics floor in the Holy Land.
It is believed this church was in use as early as 100 AD and as late as 700 AD. A baptismal font was found here, which even had a way to heat the water. Also found at the site is a Christian burial cave. 2 crypts containing skeletons were found. Crosses etched in the wall marked their location. Usually important church leaders of the era were buried inside such crypts. There have never been any other Christian churches found in this region of the Holy Land. Could this have been another shrine honoring a land made sacred by another prophet? To an archaeologist, Israel is made up of layers. Like chapters in a book, one can learn more by digging deeper.
Well, I am an archaeologist. I am, of course, not a Mormon. I'm an Israeli archaeologist. I know about this tradition, and maybe as a result of our excavation, this tradition might be verified.
Is this the land of Lehi's inheritance? As Dr. Safrir has pointed out, there is an impressive array of evidence that this site was a very sacred place for many ancient people. The Bedouins say a prophet of Israel once lived here. The book of Judges tells us in the days of Samson there was a city named Lehi in approximately this area. The book of Mormons says Lehi had a land of inheritance down from Jerusalem, which could very well have been here. Lehi stored his wealth in gold and silver in what was undoubtedly a treasure cave. A cave of this type has been found. Lehi's sons fled from Jerusalem and hid somewhere so long their mother thought they were dead. There is evidence that someone was hiding in this cave about that time and wrote inscriptions which can be dated to about 600 BC. Ruins of a church have been located on the site which may have been a shrine to an early prophet. Why do Bedouins still call this place by a name which means the ruins of the house of Lehi. Have we indeed located the land of inheritance of the great Book of Mormon prophet Lehi? There are still many unanswered questions. The discoveries have just begun. As the archaeologists receive funding and are able to continue to unravel the past, we may someday know if these were the hills where early prophets of the Book of Mormon walked and talked before their journey to the Americas.